And we are live. Welcome back or welcome to the Truth Comes to Light podcast, where everything done in the dark is going to come to light. Every single detail in this world that is done in the dark is going to come to light. I'm your host, Jay Coven, and welcome to the show. For those of y'all that are new on the Truth Comes to Light podcast, talk about news from all over the world, the music industry, and more. Please sure to check out my previous podcast episodes on the channel. And also, please be sure to tune into Real Spill Wednesdays. On Real Spill Wednesdays, talk about life topics and motivational quotes. Please, if you're interested, go ahead and check out Real Spill Wednesdays on the channel. Also, please sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications so you get the latest updates on when I post a new podcast episode or a new Real Spill Wednesday. More videos will be coming out real soon. We're over 300 videos. I really thank each and every one of y'all that has came, supported, liked, comment, subscribe, doing everything y'all can to support the channel. I know it's been a minute since I didn't drop the podcast episode, but we're back on and I'm still getting views. So thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. Y'all also follow me on IG, TikTok, and X at The Truth Comes to Light podcast, because who knows, whatever I post on any one of those social media platforms is like a foreshadow for what the next podcast episode or the next Real Spill Wednesday will be about. But if you don't follow any one of the social media platforms, you will be missing out on the content. And even if I post something on any one of those social media platforms, that doesn't make it to the podcast page. We can talk about it on the social media platforms. Y'all keep on engaging. I will keep on posting content every single chance that I get. So with that in mind, we are going to get straight into this podcast episode, and a whole lot of things have been going on. But the first thing that I want to tackle is the WNBA. We have concluded the WNBA finals, and the New York Liberty, wow, they come and they win their first ever WNBA title against the Minnesota Lynx, winning it 67-62 in overtime. The first WNBA finals that has ever went into overtime. They come and they score 7 points in overtime to knock off the Minnesota Lynx 67-62. MVP goes to Jonquel Jones, who played great. 17 points. Let me go ahead and show y'all. She had 17 points, 5 attempts, shooting 50% from the field, hit some clutch free throws as well. And overall, the New York Liberty, they pulled it out. And this game was close. It was sort of kind of like Game 4. Game 4 was neck and neck. Neck and neck the whole way, but Minnesota pulled it out. But see, coming in Game 5, it got close. It was close all the way in the fourth quarter. Then in overtime, they just pulled it out. They came in, they got the tip off of overtime, hit the three-pointer, boom, right then and there. In Minnesota, they only scored one time in overtime, and that was the difference maker. Now, what I will say about the Minnesota Lynx, this is a resilient team. Shout out to the Minnesota Lynx for even getting here. Because personally, I had the Connecticut Sun getting to the WNBA finals, and I had the Las Vegas Aces get into the finals. I didn't even think that the Liberty, even though they were the best team in the WNBA, was going to make it, and I for sure didn't even think that the Lynx were going to make it. I thought they were going to make it to the second round and they were going to end up losing. But shout out to the Minnesota Lynx, and this series was actually really interesting. Minnesota from Game 1 showed how resilient they are. They came back from down 18 and won Game 1. So this is how you knew, okay, they can beat this team. And they beat this team, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times in the regular season. 3 times in the regular season. So we knew it was going to be a series, and it was close. Game 1 they won. Game 4 they won. And they split at home, they split on the road, and they just couldn't pull it out. They fell just short. Now we're going to go straight into the ending with Breanna Stewart. That was a foul. That was a foul. To me, that was a foul. Even though she traveled, what I will say, she did travel. She most definitely traveled. I want to see if I can pull it up.
The moment the referees ruined the WNBA championship, the New York Liberty were down by 2 points with 6 seconds left. They inbound the ball to Breanna Stewart. She gets away with the travel but draws a foul. The Minnesota Lynx.
I'm calling that a foul. Now, what I will say is she did travel. She literally caught the ball, took 2 steps, and then moved. Like, she took 2 steps and then, went like she traveled. But she got hit. I'm calling that a foul personally. Now, would I have called it at that point in time? Everything is on the line. Me being a ref, you gotta call it. You gotta call it right. You do gotta call it right. I personally would have called it a foul, but you really can't get mad if they didn't call it a foul because I mean she did have her hands up like this. So me personally, okay, they called the foul, but Minnesota had chances to win this game. Minnesota had a chance to win this game. She missed 2 free throws. And then I think the next possession, they gave it to who they need to give it to. Nafisa Collier, she just didn't make, they couldn't get past 2 point. They couldn't get past a 2-point lead. And that's really what killed them. She missed the free throws to make it 60-60 the first time. Then she got that foul call and she tied up the game. And another reason why they could have won the game, Sabrina Ionescu put on her best Klay Thompson performance when it came to crunch time. Shooting 1 for 19. Are you serious? She shot 1 for 19. Then in game 4, Breanna Stewart, she shot 5 of 21. So they weren't even playing good. Sabrina Ionescu ain't really played good the whole entire series. Yes, she did her thing in game 3. And she hit that clutch shot. But overall, she didn't really do all of that in the whole WNBA finals. She didn't. And when it came crunch time, yes, she hit that 1-3, which was huge. When she did hit it, it was huge. It was in the fourth quarter. It was huge. Don't get it twisted. But you can't go 1 for 19 and you're arguably the best player, second best player on the team. You can't do that. You can't go 1 for 19. So Minnesota had chances in that game to win it. Nafisa Collier, she fouled out. She ended up playing good. Let's go ahead and look at the stats. Nafisa Collier had 22 points. Kayla McBride had 21. But other than that, no one else played good. No one else did anything. Courtney Williams didn't play good at all. And in overtime, she kept shooting the ball. Like the first 3 possessions, she shot it. I'm like, why are you not giving the ball to Nafisa before she fouled out? Like, you give it to Nafisa Collier, give it to Kayla McBride, who's playing well. You haven't been hitting no shots. And I feel like they could have easily won this game. They could have won this game. If Sabrina's not playing good or Breanna Stewart isn't playing good, both of them did not play good this game, you should win. You should feel confident that you should win the game. Like, yes, that call was controversial. I'll admit, it's controversial to call it at that time. But what are you going to do in overtime when it was tied? You only scored 2 points. You can't score 2 points in overtime and expect to win the game. You can't. You're a resilient team. I love this team. This Minnesota Lynx team proved me wrong. You know. But overall, I just feel like when it mattered most, they just couldn't pull it out. And shout out to this particular season of the WNBA, getting the attention that it most definitely deserves. This game came on Sunday night. You're thinking that all the views is going to go to the NFL. My Pittsburgh Steelers was on that Sunday. And this game comes on and it was interesting. I'm pretty sure, I think it got a whole lot of views. A whole lot of views compared to previous years. So shout out to the WNBA for getting the viewership that it deserves. And this finals was actually interesting. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't none of that. Like, from game 1 all the way to game 5, it was interesting throughout. Interesting series, most definitely. But the New York Liberty, they pulled it out. They pulled this one out. If Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, if they don't play well, if you just tell somebody that Sabrina Ionescu, the second best player, Breanna Stewart, the best player on the team, aren't going to play well, you tell someone that Sabrina's going to shoot 1 for 19 from the field and only hit 1 3, you would tell, man, they're going to lose that game. They're going to lose that game. That's what I would say. They will get blown out, double digits. But you had role players. You had role players that really, really, really stepped up. Sebali, 13 points off the bench. She came in clutch. She most definitely came in clutch. And she was one of the reasons that they won the game because of her. Her production was needed. It was most definitely needed because without her, they would not have won this game. They would not have won this game. But shout out to the New York Liberty for pulling this game out. They proved me wrong. Personally, for this series, though, I did have the Liberty winning. I had the Liberty winning in 4 games. That's what I had it going 4 games. I thought it was going to be like 3-1. But the Lynx, they were resilient, and they came back from 18 on the road and won the game. Like, they played. Overall, this WNBA series was good. This whole WNBA playoffs was really, really, really good. It was, it was fun watching. And it wasn't just because of Caitlin Clark. You saw other teams, other talent, and it was just fun. It was just fun to look at. But they say, Cheryl Reeve says that it was taken from them. I'm not going to say that because you did have opportunities to win. You had opportunities to win in this game. But shout out to the New York Liberty for winning their very first WNBA championship. Now, since we done got done talking about the WNBA, I do want to move to college football. Let's go ahead and talk about a few games. The very first game that I will be talking about, we're Roll Tide over here, in case y'all didn't know that. But Alabama has just dropped another game, this time to the Tennessee Volunteers on the road in Nashville, 17-24. Jalen Milroe, 25 of 45 for 239 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jam Miller, 12 carries, 42 yards. Justice Haynes, 8 carries, 22 yards. Ryan Williams had the only receiving touchdown along with 8 catches for 73 yards. He was targeted like 20 times. I kid you not. It was either 19 times or 20 times. He was targeted a lot in this game. Jeremy Bernard, 5 receptions, 72 yards. Kendrick Law, 4 receptions for 37 yards. But that unnecessary roughness, or that unsportsmanlike conduct, should I say, that caused the 15 yards and made it a 4th down and 22, that was most definitely a killer. Their quarterback, Nico, I don't even know how to say his last name. I'm not even going to say it. He was 14 of 27, 194 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He didn't even play that well. He got hurt. He came back. He didn't even have to do all of that because Dylan Sampson, he got the ball 26 times. Now, in the first half, he only got the ball like 8 times, 8 carries. But in the second half, Tennessee, they started feeding him more. I think he's the leading rusher in the SEC. I could be wrong. But he had 26 carries for 139 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. Receiving, Brew McCoy, 6 receptions, 80 yards. Chris Braswell had the touchdown for Tennessee. And their defense overall played good. They played good. Alabama, they scored. They only was held to 7 points at halftime. They were held to their lowest amount of rushing yards this whole season. They rushed for over 100 yards in every single game that they played. But this one, they could not rush the ball. And they couldn't throw the ball. And Jalen Milroe, you're my guy. But there were some throws in this game that I know you will want to have back. Jalen Milroe was throwing it behind guys. Like the first interception, you got to throw it more so to the corner. Let me go ahead and show y'all. So for this, second down and goal, first off, I personally would have ran the ball because you're on the 3-yard line, second down and goal. Run the ball, see what you can get. Just to see what you can get. You throw it to your best player, Ryan Williams. Okay, that's what you decide to do.
But they like their talent.
You see that he's getting clamped. The cornerback is looking. I think his name was McCoy, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead. Yes, McCoy. He was playing. He was balling before he had got hurt. But he's looking straight at the quarterback. He's looking straight at the quarterback because he knows that it's going to Ryan Williams. And he underthrew it. He underthrew the ball. That was the first interception. Now, the second interception, was worse.
Are in the backfield the entire time. He sees it. He sees Jeremy Bernard.
Like you have Jam Miller open. He's open too. But you can't throw it behind. If you throw it on the run, he's able to make a catch and he's gonna get hit from behind. But if you throw it like this, the cornerback, the safety is gonna be able to come and undercut the ball and intercept it. So those two interceptions are ones that he would have back. And there was throws like to Ryan Williams where he had him on three separate occasions, Ryan Williams. He had him twice going over the middle of the field, one coming from the right-hand side, and he threw it behind him, which caused Ryan Williams to slip. That's one. If you throw it right in his chest, he has a whole lot of space. Then the second one, he's coming over the middle, and you throw it high and behind him that nearly got intercepted. You got to hit him on the run. And Jalen Milroe, he's a good deep ball passer, but his intermediate route, sometimes he can get a little bit inaccurate. And sometimes with Milroe, it's like he reads one person, one receiver, and if he's not open, he's ready to go. He's ready to run. Now, there's times where, in the Georgia game, where he'll go through his progressions and look at receiver to receiver, and then he will throw it. But in this game in particular, and shout out to the Tennessee defense. The Tennessee defense played really good. But with Jalen Milroe, you can't just look at one read, and if he's not there, you're taking off. We get that you have the athletic ability, but teams are going to see that, and they're going to want you to beat them throwing the football. And the third play to Ryan Williams was when you threw it to the sideline and he was open and you missed him. So there were throws in this game where Jalen Milroe just flat out missed, and it cost him. If you were to tell me that Alabama would have 3 turnovers, they had 3 turnovers this game. 2 interceptions and a fumble, and we only scored 7 points at halftime, and we don't win the game as an Alabama squad that just beat Georgia a couple of weeks ago. It's like we're treating the Georgia game like a national championship, goddamn. We come on the road to Vanderbilt. Our corners, my goodness, now we can't defend. It's like we forgot how to play defense. And now coming into this Tennessee game, we're acting like we can't put the pieces together. It's like our offense will play good and our defense will not, or our defense will play good and our offense, it's like it's non-existent. We got to put the pieces together. That's what's really going on. But on the offensive end, we have a whole lot of things to clean up. We have penalties that we need to clean up. Milroe has to get better as a passer. You can't just look at one read and if he's not open, take off. The running game was non-existent in this game. It was non-existent from the running backs. And that's one of our weak spots too. Now, personally, some of the play calls were iffy. Like the 4th down and 22, it was iffy. I don't know what type of play call that was, but at the same time, if our offensive line can't block, we're not going to have time to throw it 22 yards. We're just not. So it's a lot of cleaning up that we have to do. And another thing too, speaking of that 4th down and 22, it was the 4th down and 22 or the 3rd down. That was an offsides. And for this game to have so many penalties in it, I'm very surprised that they didn't call it. Because they were calling flags, throwing laundry on the field the whole entire game. But at that time, you don't want to call that. and it messes up everything, and now it's a 4th down and 22, you should have called that. He did not time the snap at all. He was early. He was in the neutral zone, but you didn't call it. And there were so many flags on both teams. It was like 15 flags for Alabama, 13 penalties or 11 penalties for Tennessee. It was something like that. They were throwing penalties like crazy. But one thing I will say, Tennessee did go back to their strong suit. They went back to their strong suit. They only handed it to Dylan Sampson 8 times in the first half. They gave it to him almost 20 times. And we were stopping the run in the first half. Alabama was stopping the run in the first half. Then all of a sudden, the second half, he just let loose. It was this one drive. I think it was like 8 plays. And he got the ball like 7 of the 8 plays. It did something with it. He got like a 20-yard run, another run, and then he ended up scoring a touchdown. It's like we had him in the first half, but then all of a sudden we just couldn't stop the run. Now we just couldn't stop him running the ball. They were grounding and pounding us the whole entire second half, and we just couldn't stop it. But I don't blame this game on the defense. I 100% blame it on the offense, because you can't score 7 points in the first half and have so many turnovers. And we had good field position, very good field position. Our defense did what it needed to do. It's just our offense just didn't play well. It didn't play well. And with this loss, the only way I see Alabama getting into the college football playoffs is if they run the table. They have to beat everybody now. They have to beat everybody. And let's look at their remaining schedule. So we play Missouri this Saturday. We play LSU on the road. So we might mess around and lose a third game if we can't put the pieces together. Then we play Mercer, we play Oklahoma, and then we play Auburn at home. So we're going to be able to beat Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn at home. But Missouri and LSU, especially LSU, with how they're playing now, I don't even know if we could beat LSU if we can't put the piece together. And it's on the road. I'm very questionable about us making the college football playoffs. Very questionable. Because that Vanderbilt loss just showed everybody in the SEC that you can run against this team. Our corners are our weak spot right now. We're not being physical. And teams can see that. Vanderbilt was running all over us. Tennessee did it in the second half. And with LSU and Caden Durham, I'm pretty sure they're going to follow the same type of game plan. And they have good receivers. They're going to follow the same game plan. Missouri, too, especially throwing the football. You got to watch out for Luther Burden. Who's going to guard him? Don't know. You don't know what type of Alabama team you're going to get. Are we going to get the Alabama team that stepped up in the first half against Georgia? Or are we going to get the Alabama team that allowed 40 to Vanderbilt? We got to be able to put the pieces together on offense and defense. Are we going to get the Alabama team that allowed that got 3 turnovers against Tennessee, but the offense couldn't do anything? Or are we going to get an offense that is striking on all cylinders, but our defense can't stop a cold? What are we going to get? That's going to be very interesting to see against Missouri. But personally, I think we're going to beat Missouri. I'm more so concerned about LSU. We have to beat LSU. Have to beat LSU because LSU is ranked, I think they're in the top 10. Yeah, LSU is number 8 right now. So we have to run the table. We can't lose no more. Texas A&M is ahead of us. We dropped from number 7 to number 15. What the hell just happened? We were just number 1. How we dropped 14 spots in a matter of 2 weeks? 2 weeks. We was just the best team in the nation. What happened? The best team in the nation. We losing to unranked teams. Tennessee. I didn't think we was going to lose to Tennessee this year, especially when their quarterback, when Nico got hurt, and then the other quarterback came in and his first throw was an interception. We got to put the pieces together because we're capable of beating the teams that are ahead of us. We're capable of beating Texas A&M. We're capable of beating Indiana. We're capable of beating BYU, Iowa State. We're capable. Tennessee, we're capable. Miami, we're capable of beating these teams. It's just, are we going to be able to put the pieces together? Alabama has to be able to put the pieces together. Put everything together and have a good game on both sides of the ball. Because there was a lot of possessions on offense that if it would have connected, we would not even have been in that position. They put themselves in that position on offense. And that was the reason why they lost the game. That was the exact reason they lost the game. But overall, shout out to the Tennessee Volunteers for winning a big game at home, moving up to number 7, 6-1 record, and overall still in contention for the college football playoffs. Alabama, y'all need to wake up. Y'all need to wake up. It's Roll Tide, but y'all need to wake up. Okay, so the next college football game that we will be talking about is the number 1 Texas Longhorns and the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs at the time. The Texas Longhorns, who were the best team in the nation, had high expectations, still have high expectations, end up losing to the Georgia Bulldogs at home 32-15. Carson Beck, 23 of 41 for 175 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He has not played good. He has not been clicking these past few weeks. And we will talk about it here in a little bit. Trevor Etienne, 19 carries, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns, played really well. Oscar Delp, 2 receptions, 45 yards. Dominic Lovett, 4 receptions, 35 yards. Arian Smith, 6 receptions, 32 yards. They couldn't really get anything throwing the football. But Jalen Walker, man, 3 sacks. I think he had a forced fumble. He was the difference maker in this game. This dude is like a Micah Parsons. He was playing out of his mind this game. His draft stock went up. He was a first-round pick before this game. He is nailing the coffin first-round pick with this game. And overall, they just played well. Michael Williams played well. Their whole defense just played well. Quinn Ewers was 25 of 43 for 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Arch Manning came in, 3 completions, 3 of 6, 19 yards. Quintravion Wisner, 15 carries, 52 yards. They couldn't really get the run game going. Jaden Blue had their touchdown with 7 receptions, 48 yards. Isaiah Bond, 2 receptions, 11 yards, 1 TD. Overall, you look at this score, 30-15, and it's a close game. And you look at Carson Beck, he threw for 3 interceptions, and you're thinking, man, how the hell did Texas not win? It was Georgia's defense number 1 and field position number 2. When Georgia got their turnovers, they were in good field position. Very good field position. To the point to where Georgia didn't even need to do anything more than just run the football to score a touchdown. That was the big difference maker. And Jalen Walker this dude is Micah Parsons. I was lost for words just watching how he played against them. They all played good. The Georgia defense was the difference maker in this game. Most definitely. And they did their thing. They did their thing the whole entire game. Like, personally, I had Georgia beating Texas. I had Georgia beating Texas on the road because that defense. I thought, okay, Yes, they lost to Alabama, but this Georgia team is still Georgia. I wasn't going to let that Alabama loss fool me for who Georgia is. And the moment that they were underdogs in this game, I knew it was going to burn a flame in them. And they were up 23-8 in this game. They were up. They were up pretty much the whole game. So they did not let go of the gas. And overall, when it mattered most, when Texas tried to make the comeback, Georgia's defense said no. They stopped them on fourth downs. They pressured Quinn Ewers a lot in the game. Quinn Ewers did not have time. Did not have time at all. And that rushing attack was non-existent for Texas. Non-existent. And they've been winning these last few games, Georgia, without Carson Beck being in rhythm and actually playing the way that we know Carson Beck can play. He's been throwing 3 picks left and right. He's been off target a lot, and he was known as one of the most accurate quarterbacks right now in the SEC. He has not been accurate at all. Has not been accurate. And they really been piggying off of Trevor Etienne, the rushing attack, and that defense. And when you got a defense like Georgia with Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, and that secondary, you're going to get places. You're going to get places. Texas, they have the team. They most definitely have the team. They're going to obviously be in the college football playoffs. There's no question with that. I feel like they're a contender. But I think Georgia was just a better team that day. I feel like Texas and Georgia has one of the most talented teams in all of college football, but I feel like the coaching matters, and being in the SEC, it matters versus a team coming from the Big 12. Granted, this is the best team coming out of the Big 12 and moving to the SEC. When you've been in there for such a long time, you know it's different expectations, and I feel like that's the difference. It's the coaching, the defense, all of that. That defense was serious that game. If this defense like this showed up against Alabama, oh, they would be undefeated. They would be undefeated. It's kind of crazy to realize that the same defense that we just witnessed literally shut down Texas, Alabama scored 40 on them. It literally doesn't make sense. Alabama literally scored, 40 on this same Georgia's defense that comes into Texas, the best team in the nation, and only holds them to 15 points. Only hold them to 15 points. And they scored all 15 points in the third quarter. They didn't score in the first quarter, second quarter, or the fourth quarter. They were shut down. Non-existent. Literally. It's crazy. Every single team in the SEC has a loss. But out of all the teams, Georgia's the best team. Personally, to me, I feel like Georgia is the best team in the nation until proven otherwise. Until proven otherwise, I feel like Georgia's the best team in the nation. And we look at the top 25 polls. You have Oregon number 1. You have Georgia number 2. Personally, I feel like, okay, if Alabama beat Georgia, Georgia was, I think, the number 1 team in the nation at that time. There was something like that. Alabama was like, or it was like 2-3. It was something like that. And Alabama beat them, and that made them the number 1 team. I get that you can't flip SEC schools and SEC schools, and Oregon's undefeated. They did beat Ohio State. I understand it fully. But if I had to choose the best team, if I had to say, okay, Oregon versus Georgia, who's winning? I'm choosing Georgia. So with that being said, I feel like Georgia's the best team in the nation. Forget the loss to Alabama, because now you see how Alabama's playing. They can't put the pieces together. But this Georgia team, yes, they lost, but they've bounced back. And they beat the best team in the nation, who everybody thought. Miami, they're 7-0. But to me, the reason why I feel like Miami is number 6 is because of the simple fact, when you compare Miami to Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, and even Texas, not saying that Miami is a bad team. They're far from a bad team. Cam Ward and those boys, they're good. But the way that they beat Louisville, their defense has been suspect for weeks now. They've been suspect against Virginia Tech. They've been suspect against Cal. They've been suspect against Louisville. They've just been pulling it out with offensive firepower with Cam Ward and Strepo and all those boys. Like, they've only been pulling it out with offensive firepower. Now it's going to be a question, okay, you go up against a Georgia, Ohio State, or Oregon, Texas, with actually good defenses, how are you going to play? How are you going to play? I feel like Miami's going to make it to the ACC championship. I feel like Oregon's going to make it. Let's see. Georgia's going to make it to the SEC championship. Penn State ain't going to make it. I don't think Penn State is going to make it. They're going to lose to Ohio State. Now, Indiana's very interesting because if you look, Indiana's number 13, and they go up against Ohio State, who I think they're going to lose to, and they go up against Michigan. Michigan, they just lost to Illinois. So, for me, I feel like Indiana's going to mess around and make some noise. And they got that same coach from James Madison, and he has a resume of winning. So they got the culture there. And clearly, as you can see, these boys is 7-0. So Oregon number 1, Georgia number 2, that's fine. Penn State number 3, okay, they're undefeated. Ohio State 4, which that's going to, change because when they play Penn State, we all know who's going to win that game. Ohio State. Texas is number 5. Let's see Texas remaining schedule. Texas Longhorns football. Let's see. Schedule. So they play Vanderbilt. They play Florida. They play Arkansas. They play Kentucky. And they play Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Now, that might be interesting. That just might be interesting. We'll have to check out that one. But I think overall, Texas is going to come out and only just lose one game at that. Miami, I feel like after the win to Louisville, I feel like that was like their biggest speed bump. Since they beat Louisville, I feel like the only team that they really have to worry about is Clemson, but they ain't going to play them till the ACC championship. And Clemson, ever since they got belt to ass to Georgia, they've been on a roll. Cade Klubnik and those boys has been on a roll. Dabo been on a roll. I like it. Iowa State, even though they almost lost to UCF, I feel if he don't drop the ball, who knows? It could be a whole different story. BYU has been great. Great. If you haven't looked at BYU football, look at them boys. They're playing. Most definitely. Texas A&M 6-1. They're going to lose again. Alabama, we might fuck around and lose again. Kansas State has been good. Colorado, they should have beat them. They should have beat Kansas State. But I think they're at the top. Them and BYU are at the top of Big 12 play. Let's see. Boise State, 5-1. They're doing good. Pitt 6-0. Illinois 6-1. Army and Navy, I ain't gonna lie. Who do y'all have for Army and Navy at the end of the college football season? That's great. I've never, in my years of living, have seen Army and Navy be this good. 7-0 and 6-0. I don't even know who to choose. I've never even seen them play. Either one of them play this year. But my goodness, the way that they're playing, for them to be 7-0 and 6-0 has to be good. Has to be good. I don't even know who to pick. Personally, I'm going to have to do my little research on them. But I think right now, if I just had to choose, I'm going with Navy. Because from what I've seen, the tradition has been Navy has beat Army. So I'm going to keep on going with the tradition, and I'm going with Navy. Most definitely going with Navy. But let me know down in the comments section, who do y'all have for that particular game? And who do y'all have in all of the conference championships? Like, I have Georgia. Like I said, I have Oregon making it. Let me see. I have Miami and Clemson for sure making it. Who now? See, I don't know who's going to be that other team coming out the SEC. I don't know who's going to be that other team coming out the SEC. It's going to be a toss-up. We're just going to have to see. But we all know it ain't going to be Alabama. It's not going to be them. Them chances is over with. So we're just not going to say that. And yeah, but overall, good win for the Georgia Bulldogs. That was a very statement win for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, and proving to everybody who is the best team in the SEC. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is the NBA. It is opening night for the NBA, and we have two games. One is still going on between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. I was looking at a little bit before I had started recording this podcast. Bronny James had came in the game with LeBron. That's the first time that a father-son has ever came. Shout out to that. Currently, as y'all can see, the game score it is 85-81 Lakers. But I did look at the Celtics and the Knicks, and as y'all can see, the Boston Celtics literally put belt to ass on the New York Knicks, destroying them 132-109. They hit tied the record for most three-pointers, which was 29, if I'm not mistaken. They hit 29 threes. They hit 10 threes in the first quarter alone. Jason Tatum played well. He had 37 points. Let's go to it. Jaylen Brown had 23 points. He played well. Derek White played well with 24 points. Drew Holiday doing Drew Holiday things with 18 points. Al Horford, 11. Sam Hauser, he had 10 points. For the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, 22 points. Deuce McBride, 22 points. He played good. If the New York Knicks can get Deuce McBride going, if he could come off the bench and put up some points for the New York Knicks, later down the line, they'll be good. He played really good. Mikal Bridges, he played all right. He had 16 points. He didn't really play all that. He had 12 points. Same with Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. He didn't really play too well. He only had 4 points. And overall, the Boston Celtics literally picked up where they left off. Now, it's a long season, 82 games. Anything could happen. Players can get hurt. God forbid nobody gets hurt. But things happen. Players get hurt. Teams go on a little slump run. But overall, this Boston Celtics team boat raced the New York Knicks from the time the jump ball had occurred. Since the time the jump ball occurred, the Boston Celtics was on go. They were on go. They were up by 30 for most of the second half. They literally held the Knicks to 24 points in the first quarter, which they did good. The crazy thing about it, the New York Knicks at one point in time shot like 60% from the field and was still losing by 20. And that's the crazy, mind-boggling thing. Like, the Boston Celtics, they have so much firepower, and the Knicks, any team can shoot 50%, 40% from the field, 55%, with them 60 and still be down by double figures because of how much firepower the Boston Celtics have. They kept damn near their whole roster. They kept their whole roster from last year, literally put it back, and it literally felt like they picked up right where they left off. Like the Celtics last year had the most 50-point wins, 40-point wins, 30-point wins, 20-point wins, and 10-point wins last year. It literally felt the same exact way. It literally looked like we looked at that same Boston Celtics team last year in game 1 against the New York Knicks. And mind you, this is the same New York Knicks team that is supposed to compete with them in the Eastern Conference. Now, like I said, it's early. But is this a glimpse of the future? Fully healthy? Who knows? But if it is, oh my gosh. I personally would have the Celtics being the favorite to win the NBA Finals and go back-to-back. Now, it's hard to go back-to-back in the NBA. It is. But if we just look at the team, it's constructed well. They literally have the same roster from last year. I would have them as the favorite, most definitely. The 76ers in the Eastern Conference, who knows if they're going to be healthy. Joel Embiid, Paul George, who the hell knows with them. The New York Knicks, even though they got better, I don't even know if they're going to be able to compete. The only team who knows how the Heat is, but it's like with the Heat and Celtics, you can never count out Eric Spoelstra. The Pacers, they can't compete. So there's teams, the Cavaliers, who knows with them? I don't think they can compete either. The Magic, nah. So I feel like the Celtics, it's really the Celtics all the way through. Until somebody gets hurt, which I don't think nobody's going to get seriously hurt. Hopefully they don't. They're going to make it. They're going to make it. Now for the Western Conference, that's hard. That's hard because you have the Nuggets, who I want to choose. I want to choose the Nuggets going there, but you have the Timberwolves. They might fall down a step because they traded Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks to get Julius Randle, which I personally didn't like the trade, especially since they didn't went to the Western Conference Finals. You have the Dallas Mavericks, who acquired Klay Thompson. They are going to most definitely be a part of that race as well. It's like the Nuggets, Mavericks that I would say are like 1-2. The Timberwolves, like I say, you can't count out. I don't know how to feel about the Kings. Who knows how the Kings will be? A healthy Zion, the Pelicans could be a 6 seed. The Suns, who knows what the Suns are going to do with, especially that bench, because their bench is fried. Same with the Lakers. Same with the Lakers right now. So, personally, out of the West, it's either going to be the Nuggets, the Mavericks, or the Timberwolves. Oh, and the Thunder. The Thunder will most definitely compete. I feel like the Thunder and the Nuggets are the same team in regards to, okay, when the Nuggets were that young team, they kept losing in the first round, second round. They lost to the Lakers in the bubble, but they had the team. The Thunder are the same way. Eventually, when they start learning how to play with each other, Jalen Williams is coming out to be a star. We already know how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. They got Alex Caruso. They got another defense person for the guard position. They got Hartenstein, who came from the New York Knicks. So they're picking up pieces. They're in the right direction. It's just, are they going to be able to capitalize right now? Don't know yet. In a few years, if they're able to keep this young squad, they might be. That's why I say, okay, this Thunder's team is like this Nuggets team right now a few years back. They have the team. They have the pieces with Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. But Michael Porter Jr. couldn't stay healthy. And Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were just young. But once they were able to play with each other, once they got pieces like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on their team, Aaron Gordon, it fit. So that's why I feel like the Thunder are kind of like the Nuggets in that way, shape, or form. Now, are they going to be able to capitalize? Who knows? You can't forget about the Memphis Grizzlies now since John Morant is coming back. And when John Morant was there, they were a 2 seed. You can't forget about them. So it's going to be very more chaotic in the Western Conference. But for the Eastern Conference, it's going to be the Celtics. But personally, if I had to choose the West, that's hard. That's hard. I want to say the Nuggets. I want to say the Mavericks. I'm going to say it's either one of those two. for right now. Now, that could be set to change, and we'll be talking about that in a later podcast episode. So y'all stay tuned for all of that when all of those new dates come out when we're furthermore in the NBA season. So with that in mind, that is the end of this podcast episode. If y'all made it here, please sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications to get the latest updates on to post a full podcast episode or a full Real Spill Wednesday. More videos will be coming out real soon. Y'all follow me on IG, TikTok, and X at The Truth Comes Live Podcast. And with that in mind, I love each and every one of y'all. And y'all have a nice rest of y'all day.